I was wondering if you could go over the extra credit question you put on the homework.
Oh yeah. I'll do that towards the end of the class. Is that cool? All right. I'm going to force you to stay. All right. So I want to talk about tonight. We're going to change it up a little bit because I wanted to talk about, let me share my screen. Well, before I do that, actually, how many of you, when you first open up a browser on Chrome or Safari, go to Google? Like what is the home page that you go to when you start the internet? Pretty much everybody goes to Google. I assume everybody who's not showing video is also raising their hand. Okay. So Google and Google is not the only search engine, right? There are other search engines. How many, what are some other search engines?
Bing.
Yahoo, Bing.
Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much. Yahoo, Bing, and that other one. There used to be,
DuckDuckGo.
what was that?
Oh, it's one called DuckDuckGo or something like that.
Yeah, DuckDuckGo, exactly. Yeah, that's a search engine. And you know, search engines before, there used to be Ask Jeeves. It used to be just ask, well, it's ask.com now, but it used to be called Ask Jeeves. And you know, so we go to Google for everything, right? How many of you, when you Google, when you are looking to buy products, you may Google it, you click on some link somewhere, and then you buy a product. Is that, I mean, I'm sure that you've done research before, or maybe you did some research in store, then you Google it, you found it, and then you buy it. Does anybody do that ever? Or do you use it mainly for research? Or what are we using Google for typically for the most part day to day?
Answers.
Answers. Exactly. What else? That was good, John.
I use it to
Looking
find
for-
other sites, like links to the other sites I want to get into.
Yeah, exactly. It's a discovery tool, right? So, you know, depending upon what you're looking to do, you are Googling for more information. Now, Google makes their money. Does anybody know how Google makes money?
Advertising?
Ads.
How? What do you mean advertising?
Like
Marketing.
promoted links.
Promoted links? Give me an example. Expand on that.
For example, we have explored like SEO, search engine optimization, but there are some companies, or maybe like some companies who wants their website to appear at like the first page as the first result. So they would have it be promoted.
So promoted links in the search results.
Yeah,
Is what you're
in the
saying.
search results.
Okay. Do you know how big that industry is? Anybody? The search. So what you just described, Elisa, is what you would call paid search or search engine marketing or search engine advertising. Okay. So it's where a company goes to Google and says, I have a product. I want to show up on the search results for, the top of the search results. I will pay $10 a click. And so when my ad appears and somebody Googles it, the information, and my ad appears and I click on it, I will get charged $10 per click. Okay. Now, the cost per click is going to it's going to be different, right? If you're trying to bid on keywords like laptop computer, it's probably $25, $30 a click. But if you're trying to find, sleeveless black hoodie 49ers was your search query, then it's probably, $1.50 a click. So it just depends on the volume. It's kind of like an auction, right? Think of eBay. eBay, you go and you see a product and you bid on it. The more people who bid on it, the higher cost it becomes. That's like in any auction, right? Same thing with search advertising. The only problem is you don't know who else is bidding. So I go into the platform, I say, here are my keywords I want to show up on Google for. I'm willing to pay up to $5 a click. And there could be somebody like at a competing company, doing the same thing and saying, well, I want to bid $6 a click. So it's this game of trying to understand what the demand is of the search and your budget to then show up in the search results. Okay. Now, how many of you know or can explain to me what the difference is between a natural search result and a paid search result? Or how would you delineate the difference? Or do you even know that there's a difference? Anybody?
Doesn't like when is an ad has to be disclosed is an ad, and then for natural results is just like what people search for the most?
What do you mean disclose?
At the top results where all the ads are, it says an ad on every link.
Yeah. And it's funny because back in the day, it used to be very apparent when you would Google something, and whenever I say, like, if you ever hear anybody say SERPs, SERPs, Google SERPs, that stands for the search engine results page. So Google anything, artificial intelligence, Google laptop monitor, Google, home furniture, or, I'm in the market for buying, a speakerphone for like Teams and Zoom. And so I went to Amazon and I Googled it in Amazon. I went to Amazon and I searched for, I think it was like home office speakerphone for Teams. And I spent a couple minutes looking at the highest rated one, and I bought it. So, but in Google, if I were to do that in Google, you would see results, right? Now, again, back in the day, the results that were paid for back then had like a little gray shading on it. So it was very easy to say, okay, these top 3 are paid for. Everything below is organic. Okay. But, and so remember the business model, right? How does Google make money? Google does not make money when somebody clicks on the organic search results, right? They make money when someone clicks on the paid search results. And by the way, this industry is billions of dollars. There are agencies and consultants who are making millions of dollars in revenue, public companies in some cases, and all they do is manage search engine marketing for large companies. Back in 2004, I was working for HP, and I had a $12 million budget. That budget was spent entirely in Google ads. And by the way, I didn't go into Google and buy the terms myself. I had an agency do it. So my agency back then, they would go in and they would do all the research for me. They would write all the ad copy. They would manage all the reports. They would deploy it. They would give me updates every week. And $12 million a year back in 2004 was a lot of money. But if you think about how many of us are using Google, you can understand then how that the demand for search is there, because we all Google everything. And Google is making their money by selling advertising, and they want you to click on those ads. So the reason why I say all this is because now if you Google stuff, it's a little bit more difficult to understand unless you're really looking for it. But the common consumer, right, I don't think knows that when they Google something, the difference. I really don't. I think because we live in Silicon Valley and we're sophisticated people, there are people in other parts of the country, they go to Google and they just are searching and clicking and buying, and they don't really know what they're clicking on. And so Google, so again, when we talk about the Google SERPs, search engine results page, there's a few different things, right? There's the organic search results and there's the paid search results. Now the paid search results, again, you could have a terrible product. Your product could be, maybe you have a computer from a brand, or maybe it's, I see this advertisement on during football games, and it's this mobile phone carrier, and it's not T-Mobile, it's not Verizon, it's just some random one. I've never heard of it. And, I don't know what their service is, but if I were to Google something and saw them, they can bid on mobile phone service or 5G, stuff like that. So the reason why I say all this is because you don't necessarily have to have a good product in order to buy ads, right? And it's the same thing for any paid media. You can have a terrible product that breaks, that doesn't last long, that, when you wash it, it shrinks 3 sizes. But because they have budget, they are putting those ads in front of us in Google, and they are selling products, right? And even if the product is terrible, it doesn't matter. They're still paying Google to show up number 1 when you type in best sweater for dance or best sweater for homecoming if you're in high school. Okay. So, and you wouldn't wear a sweater to homecoming, would you? No. So you guys can get what I'm saying. So my point is like, you can kind of manipulate the search results if you have money. Now, the organic search results are very different. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I want to just share some slides, but then also show you best sweater for men. Okay. So again, these right here are all ads. So someone wrote this. They wrote this as ad copy. Men's
Can you
fashion.
share what you're seeing?
Oh, you don't see it?
Mm-mm.
My bad. There we go. Can you see now? No? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, awesome. So again, I Googled best sweaters for men. What do you see here? You see these ads, right? They have ad here. Over here, these are also shopping ads where you can buy directly through Google. Down here is the first, actually, no. This one here is the first result. This is the second result. Now, something just to consider here is all of the words here are, again, written on the back end of Google, right? When you go into Google, you create your ads, you write your ad copy very similar to how you would do it on Facebook, and you turn it on, and it just goes on, and you make money, and you optimize things. But I want to just talk a little bit more about what paid search is, because it is important that you understand what it is, regardless of what kind of area you work in. So I have a couple slides I'm going to share with you, and I'll make these available as well. Okay. So again, I kind of talked about this already. There, paid search, sometimes referred to as, search engine marketing or pay-per-click advertising, right? The advertiser pays Google, a cost per click model or pay per click. They pay per click. Now there's something also called CPM, right? And it's not cost per million, it's cost per impression. Many people think it's million. And it's a different model in terms of how to buy media. We'll talk about that in a minute. So you advertise in search engine listings, right? And the benefits of that is if you have a budget, you can get on the first page of Google today, right? You have enough budget, you can get on the first page of Google for anything, right? It's a good way to maintain your reputation. So right now we're living in this, what I would call cancel culture, right? Where people are, if the masses don't prefer or like the way a company's doing business, they will cancel them or, boycott them. And so a lot of times it's done based off false information. So if you work for a company and all of a sudden everybody's tweeting and posting information about your company to boycott your services, and it is not true, what you can do is you can buy an ad on Google and bid on certain keywords like your own company. Because if I'm just going to throw out Amazon as an example, and I'm not affiliated with them, but if Amazon was in trouble for, hiring underage workers and paying them low wages, and everybody was boycotting Amazon, and it wasn't true, it was a false statement, it was false information, Amazon could go in and basically buy ads for their own name and put in the ad copy their response. Here's our response to the allegations, literally in the ad copy. So that if I'm a consumer and I'm an investor, I Google Amazon, I can see it, click on it, and maybe it's a video that explains, the confusion or the allegations and makes it right. So you can maintain your reputation in a lot of ways by using paid search. People who do use paid search and click on ads are ready to buy. So sometimes when I'm doing research, I'll never click on the paid ads. But when I want to buy something, I will Google it and I will click. Usually the ad, the first result is an ad, and it's exactly what I'm looking for, because when I search in Google, I don't search for like one word terms. Sometimes I type in sentences. And so, and the reason why I do that is I want the most relevant result as possible. And so sometimes I click on it and I'm like ready to buy. I have my credit card out, I'm signed into PayPal, and I purchase the products. Okay. So people are ready to buy. Plus you have analytics. So Google, if any of you have a website, you might have Google Analytics. It's basically tracks website visitors, how much traffic do you get per month, how do they find your site, where what referring sites are driving traffic. Is it through Google? Is it through Yahoo? Is it through whatever? So you have a bunch of analytics that you can use and look at to optimize certain content on your website, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So here's an example of when you're on the back end, right? So I had went into AdWords and I was just playing around, and there was a time when I was like into like these like sleeveless hoodies. I don't know why, I have like 20 of them. But so I just did a search for like sleeveless hoodie, right? And what Google is doing here is they're basically trying to help you bid on certain keywords. So I typed in sleeveless hoodie, long sleeve hoodie, short sleeve hoodie. Then I clicked get started, and then I got all these other recommendations. All of these other recommendations here are based on what people actually search in Google. Okay, so Google knows everything about all of us, right? So what they can tell me and what they're offering to advertisers is, look, long sleeve hoodie, it's not that competitive, right? If you look, and this is average monthly searches. It's globally, people search long sleeve hoodie between 100 times and 1,000 times, right? It's kind of a large range, right? But if you compare it to the others, you can see that how helpful it is. You know, it says the competition is high, but it's still low volume searches, right? So here, you know, these are what it would cost per click. And for low range, meaning if you were to spend and budget 29 cents per click, you would be on the first page, but you wouldn't appear every time and you'd be on the bottom. Whereas if you had $2.58, you'd be at the top. So it gives you what the cost per click would be for a high result versus a low result, and then the volume of searches. Oh, and by the way, they also gave me more ideas for keywords, right? Because I only put in 3, but they said, well, what about cool hoodies or gray hoodies or zip up hoodies or pullover hoodies, right? So it gives you a little bit more information for you to do research. And at which point you click which keyword you want to bid on, you go to the next step, you write your ad, you put in your credit card information, and you are good to go. All right. This was taken actually a while back. Let me talk through some of these things. This is really important, by the way. So well, let me get a show of hands, and I'm looking, I can see you guys. So let me just pull this over here. How many of you are, have a Gmail account? How many of you are pretty much logged in all the time? Most of us are, right? It annoys me actually when it forces me to log back in. I can't stand that. But hold on. So your search results. So for example, Maddie, as an example, because I just see you. When you search for homes for sale in Seattle, and Phil, you were to do the same thing, like right now, your results would be different. And the reason why is because you're logged into Gmail, and Google knows, they read your email, right? They know the types of emails you get. That's why you have ads in your Gmail. And so and this is actually, I prefer this because they are looking at all of your emails, all of your, your behavior, what websites you go to, how long you're staying on certain websites and things like that. And it tries to, and they have very smart scientists and developers who are trying to figure out, okay, Maddie just searched for this. 6 months ago, she was in Seattle for a Seahawks game. I hate the Seahawks, by the way. And so maybe she's, based on this search result, maybe she's moving to Seattle, when she graduates. In which case, then you might start seeing ads for jobs in Seattle, or real estate agents, or new car sales, things like that. So it's customizing the search results for you. So that's why it's always important that when you're doing research like this, that you open up an incognito window. Because what an incognito window will do is it'll basically, it's like somebody who's not logged into Google, there's no history of websites that I've browsed, and you Google something and those are the natural results. Okay. So I just want to make that point. So here I Googled homes for sale, and you can see here that, now notice ad, it's in green and it's under Seattle or quadrant. Whereas right now it's on the outside. It's probably easier to read now than it was then. So, but again, these are ads. These aren't ads. Okay. Now there's an algorithm that shows you how to rank, or that guides you on how to rank high in natural search or organic search, also referred to as SEO. So, but as I said, all of these words are written by a copywriter who is really good at writing copy that drives action. So again, think about this class, right? Where these are headlines. I searched for homes for sale Seattle, and it's giving me Seattle homes for sale. It's now I did it backwards. I could have did Seattle homes for sale as my search query, but they're showing me an ad that basically has the same exact words that I search for, because that is probably a term that you can bid on the back end, right? So if I were to log into AdWords and type in home sales Seattle, it's going to give me thousands of keywords. These will be one of them. And you'll see companies like Redfin and, you know, others, maybe home builders, and they're going to bid on these keywords because it is relevant to your search query. Okay. Now, paid search, there's a lot of nuances to everything. You know, the industry is, you know, depending upon the industry you work in, there's so many differences in what you'd spend, in what your potential budget could be, in your creative. And when I say creative, I mean literally the words, in the rules and regulations, right? So now we have stricter rules with any types of, even COVID-19. Like I remember one of our clients, we posted some content and we were promoting it, and Twitter had, I think they put it on a review because we had mentioned COVID-19, but it was stupid. It was like the post was something about how SMB companies can thrive during COVID-19, right? So it was like this entrepreneur type of piece of content. So it wasn't like we were saying that COVID-19 can be spread through masks or whatever. But, you know, when you start talking about like politics or healthcare, things like that, there are just a few more stricter rules and policies that you have to follow, not just on Google, but also on Facebook as well. Okay, so any questions on paid search, right? It's a different types of skill set. Like usually people who go into paid search are a little bit more technical, right? They understand, they're good in math. They understand, you know, what you know, CPMs, what benchmark CPMs are working in what industry. You know, they understand how to buy media because that's what people do. This is buying media. Just like you'd buy display advertising or you buy out of home advertising, like, you know, billboards up and down 101 or even TV advertising. These are media companies or media agencies rather, who are doing this. So they have relationships, they have experience in buying media, i.e. paid media for brands. Typically for large companies, it's always done by an agency. Smaller companies, startups, things like that, usually there's a marketing person who does it all internally. Any questions on paid search? Okay, let's talk about organic search. So I just want you to, again, remember, I'm going to highlight my cursor here. It looks the same, right? But you don't have the same control over organic search results as you do paid search results. Like I can't like log in somewhere and change this. But what I can do is I can go to my website and I can change the code. And we're going to talk about that just in a few minutes. Okay, so that's what SEO is. You might have seen it before, search engine optimization. It's an action, right? It's optimizing your website to achieve high results in Google, organic results. So there's a couple ways to do it, but let's talk about the benefits. It's low cost, meaning you're not paying per click. Usually when you rank high in Google for things organically, you get higher click-through rates than if you were to pay for it, because people, you know, I think people are becoming more sophisticated in understanding the differences between paid results versus organic results. And they realize that, you know, your company could suck and your product could be terrible, but because you have budget, you can buy ads and say that you're the best. Well, I'm going to trust Google, right? And if Google is going to put your site on the front page, number one, then that means you probably have a good product. But there's always ways to game the system. I'll talk about that too. So you're going to get a ton of traffic. As I said, you know, I think I was talking to this class, or maybe it was Bob Rucker's class, about the shelf life of content. All of your TikToks and tweets and you know, snaps and whatnot, Facebook updates, tweets, they have a shelf life of just a few minutes, right? You know, or if you get a lot of likes or engagement, maybe a day or two. No one's ever going to see that content ever again, ever. But the great thing about long form content, right? So blogs, so, you know, blogs used to be, you know, blogs were popular, then they weren't. Then they came back again, then they weren't. And they're good because the shelf life of long form content is forever, right? If you do it right, then you can achieve high search results for certain keywords. In fact, I wrote a blog post. My first blog post on my blog was, I think, 2006, maybe a little bit earlier than that. I still get traffic today from that blog post. It is in Google. It's number one. So, and again, it lives forever. Now that it's kind of outdated and it's, I don't really think that same way anymore, but I'm at least bringing people to my website. So you're going to see an increase in traffic. Again, people trust Google. I'm a little skeptical about Google, but I use it, so I can't complain, right? I use social media, so I can't complain about privacy. But people are skeptical of Google. In fact, there was some news media that came out. I can't remember what it might have been the first election, so 2016, and there was like something was leaked at Google where there were these, and this is not 100% accurate. So if you're interested in this, Google it, and maybe then it won't be accurate either, but find it. But there was something that leaked about these internal engineers who wanted to manipulate the search results in favor of Hillary, right? So I don't remember exactly the dynamics of that, but there was a memo or something and it got leaked. Okay, so that can happen. Now I think that they put controls in place, and so it probably doesn't happen anymore if it ever did. But just something to think about. People do trust Google. Better ROI, meaning you're going to get higher clicks, you're going to get higher sales when you have high search results. Everyone is doing it. Everyone is doing it. And I'll show you how to prove that. And then the results are permanent. For the most part, the results are permanent. Okay. Any questions so far on search engine optimization? Guys, this is gold right here. Take notes, please. All right. So when we think about SEO, there are two kind of core pillars, and they're staring right at us here: on-page optimization and off-page optimization. Let's first talk about on-page optimization. Now, without reading the actual description here, what does that sound like to you when I say on-page optimization? Anybody? It's okay if you don't know and you're just cheating and Googling it. So on-page optimization is basically, okay, remember when we talked about PESO? Paid, earned, shared, and owned? On-page optimization is basically referring to the channels that you have control over outside of social media, because again, you cannot necessarily optimize social media. You can, but you can't, not for the long term, at least. So when I say on-page optimization, I'm referring to your website, your blog, right? Your community. And so there are things that you could do to optimize it, meaning make it better so that it appears in the search results. And I'm going to talk about how you would do that. There's something called metadata. Has anybody ever heard that term, metadata? Okay, metadata is basically code. And there's three that you need to worry about. There's something called the title tag, the description tag, and the keyword tag. And it's written in HTML, but if you have a WordPress blog, you can actually write it right within your WordPress blog. But overall, I mean, if you have somebody building your website in Ruby on Rails or whatever, you would have to basically optimize each page specifically with certain keywords. So here's a great example. Right here, Seattle real estate - Seattle, Washington homes for sale / Zillow. That is metadata. That is the title tag. When you write a blog post and you post it, the title of your blog post typically becomes your title tag and shows up in Google just like that. Down here where it says Zillow has 597 homes for sale in Seattle, Washington, that is your description tag. Now, what you don't see is you don't see the keyword tag, right? Because it would look weird if you just put Seattle, but the reason why you do this is because Google sends out crawlers all across the internet and they're looking for content and they read metadata. So if they see metadata that says Seattle real estate, then they're probably saying, oh, that must be a website that sells Seattle real estate. Oh, and the description says that it does that too. So it's reading this because they can't see it. They cannot see your website physically, right? They can only see the code behind it. So the metadata is meant to explain to Google and their crawlers what the web page is actually about. I'm going to just show you something in real time because I think it's relevant. So this is my blog here, and I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you what I mean. So I'm going to go to a previous post that I wrote here. Wait. Yeah, okay. So if you're not familiar with the WordPress blog, it's basically just a CMS platform to write. Now, just something to look here, and it almost looks like any type of what we would call a WYSIWYG, meaning, you know, you write your content in here and you can bold things. I don't know why it's looking like that though. Hold on. There we go. So I can go up here and I can bold things. You guys have seen things like this before, right? There's a lot of things that you can do. Now, I wrote this is the title of my blog post, right? And it was just a video from one of my sites. Now, if you scroll all the way to the bottom right here, this is a plugin called Yoast SEO. And it says, well, what is your focused key phrase? You write it there, okay? Then they're gonna say, well, what about your description tag? So I wrote that specifically. I put branded content analytics. And so look at my keyword. What am I targeting? I want to optimize this page for those 3 words in sequentially. So branded content analytics is my keyword tag, right? That's what, when this gets published, the code is going to say keyword : branded content analytics. So it's telling Google what I want to rank for. Then going down here, this is my description tag. So this is what you're going to see. Actually, they show you the example here. So this is just an example of what someone would see when they see your search result. Okay, branded content analytics. Now, also look at the title. This is the title tag. The title tag is essentially the title of the blog post. And that's all done, that just happens unless you change it manually. Also, one other thing, look at the URL structure. What do you notice about the URL structure right here?
It has the focus key phrase.
Exactly. And what about in the copy? What do you see? There's one. Just going to bold these so you can see. What am I doing here?
You're repeating it.
Well, I'm adding the keyword throughout my content, because this is the actual blog content, right? This is what people are going to read. And I'm purposely putting branded content analytics here. Let's see. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Five. So I've written branded content analytics purposely 5 times. I went in here and did that purposely. Okay. Now, what's cool about this is this little widget called Yoast SEO. It just tells me, like, look, your SEO on this page is good. You have enough density of keywords in your post. You have your keyword in your title tag. You have your keyword in your description tag. So you have control over all of this. That is on-page optimization. Okay. Sadly, though, it only accounts for about 15% of your search result. Because if I were to go here back to Google and I were to type in, let's just do artificial intelligence as an example. Let me show you how many web pages are Google just crawled. How many is that? I just highlighted it. Almost 1 billion web pages have artificial intelligence or are trying to rank and optimize for artificial intelligence. Okay, so you can understand why your result only accounts for 15%, right? Or 15% of your result is determined based on because anybody could do that. Doesn't mean it's the most relevant piece of content. Do you guys agree? I assume you're shaking your head, yes. Okay, so going back here to, where were we? Okay. So let's talk about off-page optimization. Whenever you guys go to Amazon and you're looking at reviews or Yelp, do you ever determine, like, let's say an example would be a company, a salon has 5 stars and it has 15 reviews. Then another salon has 4.5 stars and 2,000 reviews. Do you guys look at that? Anybody? Like the quantity of reviews? Yeah, you do?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people can game that, right? You can like have your friends and family, go write a review. So it's the same thing with off-page optimization, right? So for example, it's called, has anybody ever heard the term inbound linking or link building? When you have a web page, not a website, I'm talking about one individual page, and this one page has people from other websites linking to it, right? What that is doing is it's telling Google that, oh, this web page is optimized for this keyword. It has all the on-page optimization done. Oh, and by the way, there are 15 other websites from reputable domains or web addresses that are also linking to this web page. So in that regard, a link into your web page is almost like a vote of confidence. The more people who link into it from reputable sites, reputable pages, the better results you will get. Okay, that is link building. Now, if Google ever finds out and you own a website or you're working for a large company and you're like buying links, because there was a period of time when you can buy links. You can literally go to somebody and say, hey, I'll pay you $1,000 or $100 a month, and I want you to link to my website. Here's the URL that I want you to link to, and here's the anchor text that I want you to use as the link. So these brokers or these companies would basically go out and find these websites and then charge the buyers, right? And then they would, that's how they made their money. Huge business. And then Google said, oh, by the way, we're no longer allowing, like, if we find out that you're building links and you're paying for links, because again, you're if you think about it, you're kind of deceiving people. If you show up in Google for number one on a certain term that you paid for from a link building standpoint, and you don't deliver on what you say you do, or you have a terrible product, you're deceiving people. So that's the kind of the rationale behind it. And so a link it's an inbound link. So let's do this as an example. Let's look at this one page. Okay. I had Googled artificial intelligence, and this was the first search result that I found. If you look up here at the top, this is the title tag. Now, this is not the paid search result, right? There's no ad here. This is the first organic result for artificial intelligence. So benefits and risks of artificial intelligence, right? That's the title tag. Notice their description tag has artificial intelligence in it twice. Notice the URL has artificial intelligence as part of the URL. You go to the website. What do you notice about the website? This is the actual copy from the website. What can you tell me about that? If you just quickly scan.
They link to other pages.
Yes, but that's not the answer I was looking for, but that's a great point. I'll talk about inbound. I'll talk about internal linking in a minute. What do you notice? I'm gonna just highlight a couple of things with my mouse. Where is it? Oh, artificial intelligence up here, that first paragraph. Artificial intelligence here, artificial intelligence here, AI here, and so on. So they've purposely, some smart marketer or SEO person went in here and wrote this article, or maybe it was written already and the person came in and added certain keywords in it and it's published. Okay. So that's only 15% of it though, right? So now let's look at this. Let's say there's an article and, let's say somebody found this article and inspired them to write a blog post. And then in your blog post, you put And then I read this article about artificial intelligence that got me thinking. Like that is on your blog as an example, linking to this site using artificial intelligence. Does anybody know what this is called? The blue, the thing that you click on?
And
A
it's an
hyperlink?
embedded link.
It's a hyperlink. It's a hyperlink. But in this regard, it's anchor text, meaning the anchor text is the keyword that we want to rank for too, right? Now, if I'm a third party, like if I'm a blogger and I came across this and I know nothing about SEO, I might, hyperlink the word artificial intelligence, or I might hyperlink a different word. But this right here is probably the best link you can ever get, assuming that the website that's linking to you is reputable. Because it's basically telling Google that, oh, here's one website linking to this other website, and the website that's linking used the actual keyword in as the linkable text, driving traffic to the web page that's also about artificial intelligence. Okay, best case scenario, this is the best link you can get. In some instances, somebody might read the article and write it like this. And then I read this article about artificial intelligence. That got me thinking, right? What's the difference of this one? They linked read this article or read this article. Okay. Now this is probably a little bit more common, right? Because people aren't they don't really know that you're trying to they have no idea what SEO is, right? They're just a blogger, or they're a writer or journalist, and they're just finding good content and writing about it. So this is not as powerful as this top one. But if this top one was, let's just say, a blog that's been around for many years and it's got pretty decent traffic, and then this one down here is like Forbes, right? Or Wired, then even though this article down here is linking with different linkable text, it's more powerful because it's still close to the keyword, because the keyword is still in the sentence as what the clickable text is. So Google's going to know, oh, Forbes is a legit website, right? So that has a higher reputation. We're going to give that more favor in terms of the inbound links. And then in some cases you'll get this. So, click here to read this. Nobody really does that. They used to do that a lot back in the day, but this is not ideal. Now, what smart marketers will do, and this is actually really smart for you, as you may come in as an intern at some point, or like a coordinator or entry level, and when you're not out getting coffee for the entire staff or whatever, if you see that there's a website linking to yours, it's not uncommon for you to go to the website owner. Like if you were to see this inbound link and say, you know what, I'm going to reach out to them, send them an email. I'm going to ask them if they would be willing to change the clickable text from click here to artificial intelligence. And some people will do it. You can hire people to do that. You can hire people to literally check all of your inbound links to your website and hire them to go and email and solicit for people who are already linking to change the anchor text. You can do that. And here's another one. And then I read this article about, and I'm hyperlinking AI. Okay. So in this particular scenario, I still have artificial intelligence in the copy of the third party, the blog, if you will. But AI is, because that's an acronym for artificial intelligence. But remember, go back to over here, right? They also have AI sporadically in the copy, right? This is the on-page optimization. So that's still not the greatest, but it's not bad. So SEO is not, it's not an art. It really is, it's just smart copywriting. It's smart, it's understanding the rules of the road, right? How do I amplify my website or optimize my website to appear in the search results, so that when somebody clicks on or searches for a particular keyword, my site shows up. And if you know how it works, and honestly, that's all you need to know is how it works, right? And you already know, I just told you, on-page optimization, you have control. And by the way, remember that when I showed you the keywords for the sleeveless hoodie, that data is what people search for in Google, monthly, right? So sleeveless data or sleeveless hoodie was what, like a between 100 and 1,000. That doesn't mean you cannot optimize your website for organic results using that data, because certainly that data is meant to help advertisers, but the data is free. You can create an account, go in there and do your own keyword research. I like to use, there's a free tool that I like, I'll show you that in a minute, that gives you that without having to like log into Google and all that. It's a little bit easier UI. But anyhow, so you can use that almost as your editorial calendar to then go to your website here and optimize. Now, check this out. We're going to talk about inbound linking. Okay, so these are my blogs. Now I'm going to give you guys like some insider knowledge, if this is of interest to you. And I think some of you, like Mateo, like this, like you need to be doing this, right? Especially with like all your videos, because you can embed those videos into like a blog like this. But anyway, so when I first embarked on these videos, one of the things I thought about was, how can I keep those, like, what can I, like, of course I want to, you guys know why I started the videos, right? Because I hated seeing myself and hearing myself on video. So I just figured, hey, let me conquer this fear. And then as I was doing the videos, I thought, well, I'm just going to also, my blog is, I haven't blogged very often. So what I do is I record the video, I upload it to YouTube. I basically record, well, sometimes I have to, I got smarter along the way. Before I would do it, I would record the video, and then after it was all edited, I'd go back and watch it and like pause, type, and it just took forever. Then I said, okay, I'm just going to start recording it, and then I'll dictate. So on either your iPhone or on your computer, you can actually talk, and on like Microsoft Word, it will basically jot down everything you say. So I would then just basically kind of orally redo what I was saying, and I would and here would be the blog, right? So I would literally and it's not word for word, right? So sometimes I just got lazy and I was just typing, but now I have content on my site. Now, what's interesting about that, and this is not a great example because, but when I started doing this earlier this year, I started getting tons of traffic from Google, because all of this is it's not metadata, but it's content. And these are words that are coming out of my mouth. So it's like, there's nobody else really saying, the exact same things I'm saying. So I start showing up in Google for longer tail keywords. Now, these other, these links here drive to other pieces of my website. So when I click on data-driven storytelling, it's going to go to a blog called Data-Driven Storytelling. It's called an internal link, not as valuable as an external inbound link, obviously, because you can do all your own inbound, internal linking, but it's good to show and help map and tell Google where things are on your website.
How does it do that though? How do you have your pages and then you have your links? So is it smart enough to know when you say those words, it's gonna link
No. So that's a great question. So what I do, sometimes I will publish the post, and then in a future post, I talk about something else. And then I kind of remember, oh, I have a post where I talked about this. Then I'll go back, I'll find it, and then I have to do it manually.
Oh, okay.
So I started keeping track of all of the keywords that I'm optimizing these web pages for. So like, here's one for influencer marketing. So I wrote this. So this is a series of video. Basically, all of this are from different videos that I've done. And I did type it all myself. I didn't record anything here, but this, I have everything. I mean, you could scroll for days on everything you want to know about influencer marketing or I'm sorry, this one, audience intelligence. And then over here, it's the same thing for influencer marketing, right? And so, and that's done, this would be considered like what I would call a content hub, right? Because it kind of links off to different pieces of the site, and it does link off to like third-party sites as well. And I explain things in a kind of an orderly fashion. And this type of content generates inbound links because people will see it, they find value in it, and then you start to get inbound links that way. So on the back end, I have to, I go back again, and I started, I don't remember where the Excel spreadsheet is, but I do have a spreadsheet where, here we go, where I, start to map. In fact, let me just find, I'll show you guys later, but where I map all of my blog posts to, hold on.
So people just link to you randomly? I mean, they don't have to get your permission or anything, huh?
No, you don't have to, you can link to anything you want. Like there's no policies or laws to link to something. Now, sometimes, in order to get links, people have to find you, right? So that's why with social, so going back to my whole process, right? So let me start over. I record my video on YouTube. I upload it to YouTube. I immediately create a blog. I title it the same thing. I embed the video into my blog. I dictate all of the entire transcripts, and I optimize all the metadata. I do all the linking and I post it. And then I don't even post it. And then I probably share it on Twitter and on, I don't even share it on LinkedIn yet, because then what I do is on LinkedIn, I upload the native video to LinkedIn. And so I'm getting a longer shelf life of the content. I'm not linking to the YouTube page or my blog in some cases. I directly upload the entire video to LinkedIn, and then that's what generates the engagement, right? Sometimes I link to the website. So I don't really have a method to the madness. It just depends on how I feel or how much effort I want to put into certain content. When I have time, I put more effort in. I think about other ways to generate links. There was a period of time where I would take 30-second videos. Let me just show you, and put them on Pinterest.
So I don't know. So do you get money off of this, or is this just something that you do because it's
Visibility? I mean,
yeah,
visibility consulting. I mean,
okay.
Ego, not ego in a negative way, but
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so this is my Pinterest page. And funny story, when Pinterest first started, I created all these boards based on like my interests, like sports. And then I ignored it for like 5 years. I came back and I had like thousands of followers. It was crazy. But so I don't even still log in anymore. But let me just go to my boards. How do we even get there? I don't even use. Anybody know where to go? Oh, home feed. Okay.
I think you click on your profile.
There we go. So let's see. Where's my boards?
Look at your picture. Is that your daughter?
Where?
In the picture above your name.
Above my name?
Right there.
Oh no, that's my nephew.
Oh.
Oh, so if I click on that, let's see what happens. Oh, maybe you're right. Okay, yeah, this is my page. Okay, so here I can go to, I want to find those videos I was telling you about. Here. No, that's just an image. So the thing about Pinterest then is I created these quick images and I link to the blog. Now it doesn't count as an inbound link. So social media links don't really count. So you can link to your blog from LinkedIn and Twitter all day long, but I'm using this as a way to drive traffic and get visibility in Google. So these haven't performed very well, obviously, but some of my others, like I did one like for Kobe. I had a board of like thousands of images, but where's my, I don't know. As you can see, I don't spend a lot of time here, but anyhow, going back to this, right? So, that's my method, right? So I kind of, I ignore YouTube, meaning I turn off the comments. I very rarely drive traffic there, and I use it as a place to house all of my, my videos, right? Because I embed them on my blog, and that's where I get all my traffic. So I'm going to pause there for now. I'm going to stop sharing and open it up for any questions. You guys are boring. John, you have something to say. Come on, man. Come on. You're always smiling.
I do, but I don't know. I'm scared it's going to be like a really dumb question.
It's not going to be dumb. Come on now.
All right.
There's no dumb questions.
Okay. Well, since I'm not really working anywhere yet, in terms of like my portfolio, if I were to link everywhere, like, my portfolio, different websites, social media, whatever, does that mean if you search in like, oh, someone that makes videos, am I going to be like up there? Or how does that work? How do I put my name out there better?
Well, you have it backwards. So it's not what you link to, it's who links to you.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So, but in order to get visibility, you have to use your platforms, your social media platforms, to build your thought leadership, build your, and that's why building your personal brand, everybody, is important, because then all of a sudden, as you guys are linking to, on a post on LinkedIn, as an example, sometimes I'll post, on LinkedIn, and I will link to the blog for like more information. And I'm driving people back, right? And that's going to get more eyeballs, potentially more links, more visibility. But I do it more for visibility reasons, right? Being in the industry for a long time, it's just important, right? And I kind of neglected my personal brand for like a good 6 or 7 years, and then I realized that there's other people who are talking about what I'm talking about, and I want to make sure that my voice is heard, and I have ideas, and I have points of view. So yeah, you have to, it's all connected. It's all connected, right? It's building your brand. It's having a point of view. It's sharing on LinkedIn. It's building your network. For those of you who are you're all doing great on LinkedIn, by the way, for the most part, because some of you haven't done anything, but also think about, again, like your portfolio, John. You have a bunch of videos on there. Nobody's ever going to find it through Google, ever. So why don't you write a couple paragraphs for each video explaining what it is, right? Because it's the written word that Google is indexing and looking for, right? Every post that you've written on LinkedIn, I would turn it into a little bit longer post on a blog. Whether that blog's on Medium, or that blog's, you get a WordPress blog's free, or you're paying for one on, what is that? Those sites like, Wix, or what's the other popular one?
Squarespace?
Yes, Squarespace. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's all game, right? You control all that. So long term, I mean, do it now. I encourage all of you, do it now. Think about all this now, because in 5-6 years, you're going to be killing it just in Google. You're going to have, your content's going to be indexed. You're going to have people coming to your website. You're going to getting hired for consulting gigs. You're going to be, maybe even your hiring manager is going to be finding you on Google. I had actually funny at Yahoo. I worked there for the worst 7 months of my life, until I was laid off. But the hiring manager, I'm not going to mention her name just in case this, it's not smart, but she left a comment on my blog because I wrote something about something. I don't remember what it was. She's like, hey, this is a good point. And, blah, 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 hey, send me an email. I wanted to talk to you more about this. So finally connected with her on email. And, a week later, I came in for a formal interview, and, 2 or 3 weeks later, I was working for Yahoo. Worst mistake of my life, but hey, it was a good learning experience. All right. Any other questions?
It might be weird, but I was just curious why you didn't like Yahoo per se, since you mentioned working at Yahoo.